Another solid 5 plus.
Oh, yeah.
P-line kicker minnow. Not bad. Yeah. There we go. Hey, what's up guys? Nick the Informative Fisherman here, and today we're back out on New Melones Reservoir, but today I'm out here with Joe Bruce. Joe's been putting up some crazy numbers, and he's the specialist when it comes to swim baits. Me, you know, I dabble with swim baits a little bit, but I figure why not get out here, pick a guy like Joe's brain, hopefully get some big bass on film. You know, when you're fishing with swim baits, you're looking for two to 5 bites, but when you do get those bites on a good day,
yeah, on a good day,
on a good day. But those bass are usually pretty giant. I'll show you some pics along in this video what Joe's pulled off, and we're gonna break down some swim baits along the way. What are a lot of the swim baits you like to throw out here, Joe?
Mostly the Huddleston, the BBZ, Batesmith. There's a few different ones. I tend to go a little bit bigger sometimes than the standard Huddleston, looking for those big giants. And so I'm really liking that Batesmith Magnum lately, and BBZ that I've modified a little bit.
Nice. All right, well, let's get out there, put some baits in the water, and hopefully crack a big one for you guys. Stay with us.
After taking Joe all of about 10 seconds, he stuck this donkey.
Let me work on this net for you, Joe. Oh, come on. Oh,
that was a big one.
Now you got to remember, when you're catching fish of this size, you throw a tremendous hook set in there. Reel down real quick, load the fish, set that hook home. You have a big bait that you're moving throughout that fish's mouth, and you want to crank them back to the boat. You don't want to give them much time. They have a big bait, big hook, and the potential of them throwing your bait is extremely high.
I'm trying to get this line through faster now. So Joe just stuck that big in on the last spot. Happened to pop off, but you know, that's the way it goes when you're fishing swim baits. It's a high risk, high reward game. You can lose a lot, and some days you can stick a lot. That's just how it goes, huh, Joe?
Yeah, you just never know. Some days they bite real good and they stay all hooked up, and other days they, man, they just come off and slap at it.
Yeah. So now what we're doing is Joe's kind of knowing where they're positioned right here. You see a little island right here, and off of this point, so there's a little saddle right here, just dips down. And a lot of these fish are positioning up on the saddle, right in between these two areas right here. So we're trying to get the boat close enough to where if they follow the bait up, they still have room to chase it, but we also don't want to drop the swim bait directly on top of them. You want to overcast them and make as long as cast as you possibly can with these baits, because a lot of the time they're trailing it. So if you're too close, they're going to trail it, and you're already going to be at the boat, and then you're going to cut them off. But at the same time, if you drop it right down on top of them, you're going to spook them. So you want to overcast your spot. What would you say, Joe? 25, 30 feet if you can?
Yeah, I like to get them in the middle. I like to get the
right in the middle of your cast.
Yeah, in the middle, so they got room to follow and still commit. And then your bait isn't landing anywhere near them.
Yeah. So if you picture your casting length, try to, wherever you're visualizing those bass, put it in the middle of your casting length. That way your splash is not spooking them. Plus you're giving them time to come to the boat and make as long as casts as you possibly can. So get out there and practice wherever you don't think the fish are, making long casts. Get comfortable with chucking a big bait, and then go out there and try to pursue these bad boys. Yeah, if I just stepped into you. Yeah.
When fishing swim baits, it's all about a slow and steady retrieve with your natural looking baits. So remember to remind yourself to slow down as much as possible and be patient, because going too fast is really going to end up costing you.
So I'm throwing a rate of fall at 12 here. That means 12 feet per 10 seconds, a countdown. Now what Joe was telling me is you'd like to tractor these baits, and I do see a bite mark in his back here, Joe. Darn. Yeah. So what we're going to show you is actually how to make sure you know you're getting down to the bottom with this. And Joe was showing me a pretty cool trick how you cast it out and watch real close at the line. And we'll try to get that in the view for you, and show you how this guy works. And tractoring just means bumping across the bottom, bouncing into rocks, and keeping them dredging in there, you know, tractoring his way out. So let's get a cast out there, and we'll have you watch the line. And it was a pretty cool trick, so I got to show you guys that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my line in the water right here in front of me. You can still see that it's working out. So the bait's still dropping. And what's going to happen is once that bait hits the bottom, the line's going to kind of just drop slack right in front of us. You can see how the line's coming back to us through the water right there. Got a good angle on that line. And whoop, there, now slack. So he's down. He's down now. So now all I'm going to do, since we're bringing him up a point, I'm going to keep my rod tip up a little bit, just to where I know he's nosing up, and I can creep him up over this bottom and have him bounce off of things. I don't want him to jam his nose down into the bottom coming up a point. I'm going to keep my rod angle pointed up a little bit, just to where he'll creep on up this bank, and hopefully we'll get a big old taker right in the middle of doing that. So you can see my rod tip bouncing on things, so you want to make sure you're in constant contact with the bottom the whole time. And you do this a lot of the time with the rate of fall of 12s and 16s, Joe?
Yeah, usually like the 12 or 16. They get down there a little quicker. The 12 doesn't get hung up quite as bad, but the 16 will fall faster in really deep water. So there's a time and place for both of them.
Nice. So what type of depth would you switch over to a 16 over the 12 here?
Probably around 30 feet.
Around 30 feet or so?
Deeper than 30, I'll go with the 16.
Right.
Sometimes when I'm out just in open water, I'll throw the 16.
That's the 0 model there, Joe?
Yeah, that's the 0. It's got a nail weight in it, so it goes just below the surface. And I noticed it was running a little bit crooked, so I'll just move this nail weight over to the other side, like that. Hopefully that'll straighten it up a little bit.
And what time of day you normally throw in this guide, or does it really matter? Is it more of a time of year deal?
A lot of it's time of year. I'll throw it anywhere from November till June. I like the 0 primarily after 10 o'clock, once the fish move up into that little bit warmer water.
A lot of these fish are looking to spawn.
Oh yeah, they're fully looking to spawn right now.
So it's nice to just hover that over brush piles and rock piles without having to worry about it getting hung up.
Exactly, yeah.
Let them come and eat it, huh?
A lot of times I'll throw these over treetops or on the bridge or tires, houseboats, anything where you're over, anywhere to up to 100, 200 feet of water. Those fish want to be in that warm water that's on the surface. So
yeah,
so
I know a big misconception guys have with swim baits is that they think they're like other baits, that if you miss that strike zone. But the interesting part about a swim bait is a bass will come from a long ways. You'll see these huge bass that you would never think would travel to eat something, just slowly cruising after it. You'll stop the bait right here at the edge of the boat, and bam, they'll take it right there. And you're looking at 10+ pound bass willing to chase your plug way down. So that's the advantage about floating over all those structures, that you don't want to get snagged up in structure and cover like that, that they're still willing to come out and come get it. A lot of baits are just not going to do that, but swim bait is one of those baits that will draw them out for them to eat it.
Absolutely, and that's the big thing with the clear water. The clearer the water, the better with these. Yeah. Because it'll bring fish from 20, 30 feet away. You can see them sometimes chasing it for quite a distance to get to it.
So is this why a lot of the guys in the middle of the summer stop throwing swim baits, because we lose that clarity?
So, yeah, once the water dingies up and gets the plankton in it, they really lose their value.
All right, yeah. Nice. So this is a November through June deal?
November through June. As soon as it turns over, or they start planting trout, either one. And then about May, June, the water starts getting real dingy, and you need something with a lot of kick in the tail, and or just a jig or a worm becomes a lot more effective.
Yeah, I know around June a lot of those top water swim baits start coming into play. Yeah. So we'll go over that in a little bit here, and we'll throw it for a little while just so you guys can see what it's doing. Then we'll go over the baits. But Joe and I are going to get back to trying to hammer one out here, and we'll see what happens.
These trees are probably over 60, 70 feet of water. A lot of these big female pre-spawners will get out here and suspend in just a foot or two, maybe 5 feet deep in these trees. And man, they'll come up after these wake baits like mad. Some of the best limits I've had have come out of trees like this. I like to come all the way downwind and then work my way up the wind, because those fish are going to look into the wind usually, and they'll also position on the downside of the sun because they're wanting to get in the shade. That's the whole reason they get up in there, is to be in the shade, shallow but looking upwind. I keep a saw on the boat now and then. I can kind of maneuver the trees a little bit. That's a little trick. But it's amazing the big bass you'll see. Even if you're not fishing, just run up to some of these trees and take a look at them. You won't believe the big fish in there.
So the water's a little stained up, so I'm throwing over to the shallows. I picked up the P-line kicker minnow in the 6-inch with the exposed jig head. Threw it right off the bat, tag, tag, tag. Missed the hook set, probably a small fish, but we're gonna work them here. We'll pull some fish. It's a little stained back here by the trees, so Joe's thinking we need to take off out of here, which is probably a darn good idea. When it starts getting a little stained up, the visibility's really cut down, and the chances of a big fish honing in on your swim bait really lessens like that. So a lot of the time you got to search out that cleaner, clearer water, and a lot of these bedfish are going to start moving up soon here too. The bigger ones are going to come up. A lot of the little males are out roaming. It looks like they left the beds last night, so we might get a chance to see some bedfish get picked off as well. But we're going to stick it and do it with swim baits, and I'll try to pull a bedfish with a kicker minnow at the same time on a little exposed jig head, so that should be fun.
Yeah, this is a 4-section BBZ that's been modified. It's got 4 pieces in it instead of the standard 3. Swims a little bit nicer and is a little bit bigger, so it's a little more attractive to them 10+ fish. I switched to this back here because the water's a little bit stained, and the BBZ makes a little noise and is a little flashier, so they tend to come up a little better on it than they do a more subtle bait.
Hitting multiple areas when swim bait fishing is absolutely imperative. You don't want to spend time, soaking your bait too long in that one spot, letting the fish become acclimated to that bait, because later on when you want to come back, if you've seen chasers in that area, you want a fresh look again. You don't want them to be reminded of what they saw go through there 20 times, and chances are you might just get one of those fish to eat.
Hey Joe, can I borrow a Huddleston?
I'm all out. Which size you need? Yeah, that one's probably 9 pounds.
Big, yeah. Like 8 or 9 pound follower right there to swim off. What we're doing right here is we're working this set of trees. The wind's blowing into us here, and the sun's right positioned on the other side of these trees. So what's going to happen is a lot of the time these bass are looking into the wind, and they're in the shaded side of the tree. So what we're doing is throwing up here and bringing it right into their little ambush zone to make them feel as comfortable as possible. It's not sneaking up on them. It's where they're looking. They're gonna see these things. Swim bait's a real natural presentation, so shaded side objects, downwind, it's really where you wanna be. Woo! That follower turned the fish on real quick.
He's a little one, but he's a keeper.
Skinny, long,
yeah.
Got some legs. There we go,
yeah,
choked it that time.
He's a little one.
It's all right,
yeah,
still
better
fishing
than
the boat. I mean, he had, Joe had 2 big ends just come unpegged this morning. We didn't have quite the wind that we're really looking for, I think, to really get them to commit, but right now they seem to be a little bit more aggressive, so we're gonna go back through some other spots and hopefully get some better fish. Look how skinny that belly is for the length.
Yeah.
Looks like he got knocked in.
Yeah.
This one was starving.
Yeah.
He just wanted a trout real bad. Get my bait in. Holy, I had a giant behind mine at that speed. There we go.
Good one. That's a little better.
I had about a 5-pounder chasing mine at that speed.
Oh, yeah. All right.
There we go. That's where that HUD belonged.
Yeah, he ate it. Yep. Choked it.
Yeah. I think we're on them now.
Yeah.
Got what we need, Joe.
Finally.
We got it.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be big fish probably 80% of the time here.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
Stay with us, guys, and when we come back, it'll be back to more big girls. Hey, what's up, guys? Nick the Informative Fisherman here, and when it comes to spooling up my reels, I choose nothing less than the best, and that's why I use P-line each and every time. Are you fishing the best?
P-line, baby. P-line.
Did you ever wish for an RC boat when you were a kid? And do you have a passion for fishing? Well, guess what? It's time to do them both at the same time. With RCFishingWorld.com's RC Fishing Pole, it's time to be a kid again. So visit www.rcfishingworld.com today. Ever tried pulling a planer board next to your boat when trolling or fishing from a swift current bank? If not, you're missing out on one of the most phenomenal fish catching machines on the market today. With Yellowbird planer boards pulling your lines perpendicular to your boat, you can't help but catch more fish. Find out more by visiting www.yellowbirdproducts.com. Have you been to rustylures.com? Did you know they offer free shipping on anything over $29.99? And with all the latest and greatest in bass fishing gear, from punching tackle, umbrella rigs, swim baits, and you name it, there's really no reason for you not to be getting the best deal online today. So go to www.rustylures.com. Have you had the chance to fish the baddest hoochie on the market today? That's right, I'm talking about the Shasta Tackle Wiggle Hoochie, one of the most dynamic reaction trout and salmon lures that runs second to no other for pulling and triggering fish into striking. So I guess the real question is, are you catching all the fish you should be catching? Thanks for watching, guys. Now let's watch Joe stick this fatty.
A lot of wood down there.
Yeah! Woo-hoo-hoo!
Alrighty, number 2.
Oh, doggy! It's almost too easy now, you know, Joe. Yeah, we should probably go home.
Definitely getting easier.
Yeah. Yeah, just take your HUD.
I watched that guy come up and get it. That was
nice.
nice, yeah.
Another solid 5 plus.
Oh yeah. Yep.
There you go, sir.
We're getting there.
Here we go. What model Huddleston was that, Joe?
That's a 0 with a nail weight.
0 with a nail weight. Just
yeah. Yep. It was running about that deep, so I could see him come up and roll on it, and I felt the dong of the bite. Oh. He was on.
Nice.
Yeah, it's still not the giants we're looking for, but that's a good start. We're getting there.
Yep. So the gear we're using out here today is 7 to 7.5 and sometimes all the way up to 8-foot rods. You want a rod with a lot of leverage, a long handle that you can really, you know, set these big baits, because when this bass chomps down on this, you got to move a big old bait to really plant that hook in them. And a lot of the time, the normal suggested line is 20 to 25 pound fluorocarbon. Joe over here is using 15. He's willing to play that tight little game. It spooks me a little bit, but hey, he's not having any problem, as you can tell. And I'm over here on 20 pound, and the fluorocarbon is going to give you that real good detection when you're just cruising and bumping along the bottom like that. But you do need that real big stiff stick to just really jam that hook home into them. You know, you're using a lot of the time big single hooks or oversized trebles, to where setting the hook extremely hard on real strong line is what you're going to need to do. You don't want to gallivant around and try to do some little lightweight hook set on one of these big fish. You're looking for just a few bites throughout the day, so go big or go home, right, Joe?
That's it.
Oh, no.
5:15. Yeah, it's almost 6. 5 on the nose. Yeah, right on 5-0.
All right, Joe, so why don't you take us through some of these guys, when you normally use it, when you don't. Like, what's the key factor right now? I'm gonna say the biggest swim bait. I'm looking over at this modified BBZ you have here in the Smith, and what's with the giant bait versus just like my standard smaller swim bait like this?
Well, the giant bait's gonna attract a little bit bigger fish. The fish that are 7 to 15, you know, even up to 17 for some guys. This is probably about the biggest thing I throw, the modified BBZ, and it's going to get your biggest fish in the lake. That's, you know, really good sized trout there that is really too big for a 6 pounder.
If I were to chuck that guy all day long on an ideal day, how many bites am I looking at on the greatest?
A really good day, you might get 2 bites on this.
Really good day, 2 bites.
They're going to be, you know, generally 12 pounders and up.
So that's a trophy bait right there.
Absolutely, trophy bait. Yeah.
So people need to understand, if you go out on a perfect day, 2 bites.
Yeah.
But they're going to be giant.
Giant fish.
So, you know, that's the gamble you're playing there. And then we go back to your standard. What is this, the 8?
That's the standard BBZ. It's quite a bit smaller. I've caught 2-pounders on this. The smaller fish will eat this one, but it's probably best for 5, 7, 9-pounders. Yeah, really effective bait. I like to throw these when the water's a little bit stained, or the light's low, or it's real choppy.
They make a little bit more noise, displace a little bit more water.
A little more noise. They're a little bit more flashy just in the way they swim.
Yeah.
This one here's a floater that I've modified and put a nail weight in the head, so it just dives just a bit. I don't like it to float on top and make a wake. I like them just barely under.
Kind of cutting a V slightly in the surface.
Not even a V. You don't want to see anything on top.
Just right under, just where that V's gone. Just right in there.
Yeah.
Nice. Yep. Now I see that another big guy here that we got hooked up on this. Well, that you got hooked up. Let me correct myself here. That Joe hooked up on this morning was a giant. She came unpegged.
Yeah, that was definitely the best fish of the day.
Yeah.
That's the Batesmith Magnum. You can't get these anymore, so I've been watching eBay and picking up them wherever I can, because this is really a good bait. It's a lot like a Huddleston. The tail swims really subtle. It comes over the wood a little bit better. So when you run into a piece of wood with a Huddleston, it wants to roll and get hooked up. Where this guy comes to a wood and goes right over the top and just keeps on swimming. So it's
what you're saying, Joe, is they should start making those again, is what you're saying.
Oh, I wish they would, yeah. Or somebody else, please come up with that. That's a great bait.
We need a clone, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of time I was throwing this little BBZ Junior right here, the little 6-inch guy. Now, people think that swim bait equals very few bites in a day, but you know, I know going smaller down the scale, let's say we pick up something like this, you're looking for more bites throughout the day. You're just looking for a little bit better quality than you would catch on, you know, worms and drop shot and things like that. This is still a good swim bait to get you bit, but you're looking for a little higher frequency bites versus throwing something gigantic like this.
Yeah, this will get your 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-pounders. Really effective, especially on the 3-pounders. They really seem to go for this guy.
Yeah, they like those.
And this is kind of the same size, the BBZ, the Huddleston 68. They're both kind of after the same crowd of fish.
So it's that same principle. With the Huddlestons, I'm not sure if we covered, but when it's bright, sunny, and calm, you don't want something that looks too artificial. And the Huddleston just matches a trout fantastic. Probably better than most baits I've ever seen out there on the market. So you're creeping this thing along. It's real subtle, just moves through the water real nice and easy. And you could see I was throwing the BBZ out when it was clear and calm, and Joe's knocking them out on the Huddleston. So I should have just bit the bullet and picked up the Huddleston and chucked behind him the whole time and hopefully grabbed one of those Taylors in the back there.
Yeah, today I threw the 12 quite a bit. That was dragging on the bottom. It's a real good bait to drag. The fish really just come along and pick it up, and they take it right off the bottom.
Because it's just bumping along.
Yeah, it just bumps along. I call it tractoring.
Tractoring.
Yeah. This one is a 0 that I put a nail weight in again so that it goes just that little bit that I like. I put a treble hook on the top. Guys do this all different ways with little pieces of metal stranded wire that they crimp, or there's a bunch of different ways to rig it. I use just 25-pound test line and just put a little tag line in there and hook right in there.
You know, and a lot of guys see me, you know, in other episodes, I throw these little P-line kicker minnows, these little skinny guys like there. This is just like a worm with a paddle tail on it. It's going to get bit as much as, you know, as anything else, any worm you're going to pull, high frequency bites. But this is a 6-inch bait and this is a 6-inch bait. You got to understand that this is clearly displacing a whole lot more water than this is. When you have big displacement, the bass feel that bigger profile of the bait, so therefore you're going to get a bigger bass. So don't think a 6-inch of this and a 6-inch of this is going to get you equal sized bass. This will still probably get you more bites, and it's a little bit more subtle and a little bit softer, so when they grab it, they can eat it. If you're getting short struck a lot on something like this, you can go to your soft plastic swim baits, you know, like these guys. These are oftentimes a more affordable option for guys who don't want to go out there and spend $20 to $50 to $80 on a bait. So if you're just getting started in this, you know, try a lot of the soft plastic swim baits. That can get you going. You can throw a big old monster out there. But if you do make the investment, BBZs are a great choice. Huddlestons are a great choice. Just use the bigger line, I want to say, when you first get started. Even though Joe's throwing on 15, this guy's been doing it for a long time. He's a professional when it comes to this. So
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend you start right out with 15. I do that to try to get an extra bite here and there, and I think it does work, but boy, I really got to take care of that line and really watch it and change it.
What are you
often.
thinking, like the on the 6-inch hard baits, like 20, and then the 8-inch 25?
Yeah,
in the fluorocarbon. Yeah, learn a good knot for the fluorocarbon. The improved clinch knot's a real good one for your fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon's pretty dense, it'll cut in on itself. So, you know, that's a little information for you guys to hopefully help you get out there and get on some swim bait fish. Didn't happen for me today, but it happened right in front of me. So I still had a good time. Joe, appreciate it, man. Let's release some of these big fish, huh?
You bet.
All right. So instead of ending this episode right here, we decided to call up Joe a few weeks later, go hop back out on the boat, have some more fun. It was that post-spawn time, so we knew a lot of top water baits were going to come into play, so let's go have some fun. So we decided to come back out for another day with Joe Bruce out here on Malones, trying to stick some more big ones on film for you guys. When we came here the first time, there was a lot of fish up spawning. There's still some pre-spawn fish. The lake's been dropping. A lot of these fish are spawned out. So now we're looking for those post-spawn fish. And we're gonna go over a few more patterns with you today, show you how to use swim baits as search baits and pre-fishing baits. Hopefully show you guys some followers behind the baits, and maybe stick a couple more big ones on film if things go right. So I decided to use a little bit oversized treble hook rigging this one up. I used a 65-pound wire-coated cable back to a pretty large treble hook here, and I'm using a little black hairband and putting it around the fish right here, the Huddleston, where if they bite it, the hooks kind of stick off the side a little bit. So it's a little catch where it might not just be as weedless when they go to slide down the side of the body on a short strike, where I might pick them up there and then the hook will turn out because the rubber band's loose. So I might get a better bite on the fish. I don't know. Could work to a disadvantage, could work to an advantage. We'll see. You never know.
Yeah, there's a big school of shad came across this point and is now kind of circling around to the left. There's a lot of really big fish right in this area. Imagine they kind of just spooked out. This could really be a good opportunity.
And last time we were here, there's an island right off to the side, and I'll show you that here. But it was literally 2-3 foot under the water, and now it's exposed by about 4 or 5 foot up. So a lot of the time what you're going to get when the water level drops is a substantial amount. You can call the lake and you can see how much has dropped. Ask them versus, you know, when you've been there before, ask them what the lake level is so you can get accustomed to knowing where it is. And when that lake level drops a substantial amount, you can come out, look at the spots. You know, if you have a GPS thing on your phone, you can walk out onto that structure, and if you see a little dip in the top of like a little hump, you can mark that, go mark saddles. Because when you're looking at your Navionics chip and you're looking at your graph, you can see that, but when you visually mark it with your own eyes and you can see that there's a saddle and then one big rock on that saddle, that's something you're not really seeing with the chips, you know, the lakes, on those lake maps and stuff like that. So get out there when the water levels drop down, find that particular big boulder on a saddle or a little dip in the top of a little island and mark them, and come back later on and target those areas, because a lot of the time it's that spot on a spot that's going to get you that big bite. So do the legwork, come out when your lake level's dropping down and figure it out. I know Joe, that's what he was telling me, he comes out here with his camera and stuff when the water level's low, takes pictures, so he knows exactly what he's targeting, and oftentimes that's what it takes to get over on higher level competition. If you don't do your homework, you're not going to beat anybody.
No, he's not that big. He looks bigger.
So what I'm throwing is a River to Sea S-Wave over here. This thing actually got the record spotted bass on Maloney's. I just had a little follower down there into the bottom. That's this guy here. It's got a nice wide glide to it, very thin, subtle profile. It's real easy, and that wide glide a lot of the time gets those bigger bass really intrigued to come up and hammer it. Was that the record that broke your record, Joe?
No, there was one in between there.
Yeah. What was the name of that River to Sea lure you got the spotted bass record on?
That was High Dep 88.
High Dep 88? Nice, yeah. So River to Sea is doing big things out here on Maloney, so keep an eye on those guys.
During the post spawn like this, a lot of your top water and your subsurface swim baits are going to start coming into play a little bit more often. Some good choices for you there would be like the Lunker Punker, the S-Waves, your triple trouts, and what Joe's working right here is a Lunker Punker made by Black Dog.
It seems like they want the faster retrieve with this thing.
So we happened to roll up on this better. The male wasn't around and she was locked on and aggressive. So instead of picking up something like a drop shot or a jig, which are your normal good choices for picking off bedfish, we said, hey, it's a swim bait episode. Let's chuck some big baits at this girl.
Run. 6-inch Huddleston bedfish in here. Got the rate of fall 5, a little heavier one. Probably help out a little bit. Let's see. Oh! Tagged it pretty good. Joe's throwing the 8-inch on the bed. Love it. Oh!
She's nailing it.
She's aggressive.
Yeah.
So I actually wacky rigged a kicker minnow, throw it out on this bed, irritate this female. We could pull out a drop shot right now and tag this fish like it was nothing. It's all about swim baits here. Got it. Woo!
Right. Nice spot.
Oh yeah, big spot. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. P-line kicker minnow, wacky rig bed fishing. Nice one there.
Yeah, nice spot.
Oh yeah, chunky. That might go 3.5. Let's put her in the box and go catch some more fish now, Joe. Spent enough time on that bed. And that's what's left of the chartreuse and white kicker minnow. Destruction, baby. So you guys know me, I'm all about taking every step I possibly can to put more fish in the boat. And I played around with a lot of bait scents, and the new one that I've came upon is BioEdge. These guys are pretty darn awesome. Check this thing out. This is actual trout scent. This is ground up trout right here, and I'm gonna put it on this Huddleston so the thing actually smells like a real trout. A lot of the time when you're fishing swim baits, those bass are just tailing it. So extra scent is fantastic. Plus when they bite down, if they get that little taste sensation, chances are they might hold on a little bit better and give you a better opportunity to set that hook. This one right here in particular, these wands are just like oversized chapstick. Pop it open, you don't have to rub it with your hands. You can rub it right onto your bait, hands still nice and clean. Toss it back in your box, bam, just like that. Your hands aren't filthy, you don't have to rub on a bunch of gels or things like that. Fantastic, check them out, it's the BioEdge wands.
Okay, when I'm fishing these deeper spots, this one here is about 22 feet. I'm looking for followers on my fish finder. So I'll have my swim bait down there running close to the bottom, if not right on the bottom, and I'm watching for it to show up. As it starts to show up, then I really look behind it for the followers. Okay, there's my swim bait showing up. It's about 10 feet. I'll drop it down so you can see that's a swim bait for sure. See, there's the bait dropping. Now I'm looking for other fish coming in after that bait. That'll let me know if they're here or not. Then I can set up a little bit better, change just a little bit to try to get those fish to bite.
So you'll see another real big arch. There's your swim bait coming back up to the surface there. So you'll see another real big arch down below it, or a big blob on the screen chasing in there after it. So you can see that swim bait yo-yoing up and down right there as Joe's yo-yoing it. So you'll see an extra big line or a big arch or a big blob come on there if you see that bass tailing that bait. That's always a fun one. Oh. So now we want to show you guys a little bit about casting. Joe used to race dirt bikes all the time and has a ton of shoulder surgeries and everything else done. So if this guy throws overhand, he's got an issue on his hands.
Yeah, there's no way.
And when you're throwing a big swim bait like this, you really want to remove your rotator cup out of the equation. So why don't you show us how you're throwing this guy, Joe?
I get the the rod on my elbow and put it into my hip. So it's pretty well fixed there and it never moves. And then I swing my whole body and just completely take my shoulder out of it. My back and legs are stronger than my arm anyway, so I get a lot more distance with that. And
a good little hip
rod, yeah, let the rod bend and get it loaded real good and shift the whole body.
So the big heavy lob, you're not trying to whip it, just a big heavy lob. You got a big heavy bait, send it, sell it out there. Just try to remove your shoulder out of it. If you're gonna spend, especially if you're fishing multiple days in a tournament, if you're pre-fishing and you're throwing it with your shoulder, tournament time comes, your shoulder's gonna be beat. You're gonna be thinking about that. You're gonna take your mind out of the bait, trying to picture about what the bait's doing, and you're gonna kind of screw up your day. So the way I'm throwing, I don't have as long of a handle as Joe, so I'm not tucked all the way back in here. So I'm just throwing tight right here. Now what I focus on is trying to make sure my elbow and my triceps touching my body when I come back, just like this, and I hold, you know, my left hand down here, and I turn and just throw out like that while keeping my arm pegged down. It's a little bit unnatural feeling, and you kind of have to let go a little bit sooner psychologically than later, because you're coming over a little bit tighter with the rod versus a fully extended cast where you can release a little bit late, but you release a little bit sooner to get your distance there. But keep your arm pegged in. You won't end up damaging your shoulder that way, and you're gonna have a lot more fun years of fishing. Toasted it right there at the edge, man. Clunker fish. Just jacked it right there. A few inches from the boat. Boom! Did you see him come up?
Yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah.
Little guy.
You got fish eating a lunker plunker, man. It's a good sign. Real good sign. They love that thing, that wide glide on those. Yeah.
Right.
Woo! This wave.
It looks spawned out, huh?
Yep. Definitely. Oh yeah. Definitely spawned out. A little beat up. A little skinny.
Cool
Chomped.
marks on them up.
There we go.
Huge difference.
The spots are so erratic.
Yep.
Largemouth is just heavy.
Yep. Usually largemouth will run right to the surface, jump.
Yeah.
Water stay down there and dig.
There we go. Little largemouth on the S wave. Let's let him go. Fish on. There's a spot. Oh, two of them.
Get it.
Did you see that other one?
Yeah, I did.
So Joe decided to
Trying to
toss
take-
a spook for about the
Oh,
last 30 minutes of the day to see how fast he could wreck shop on all these fish we found. Needless to say, it didn't take very long. He was pretty much pulling a fish for every 10 minutes or so.
So last time we were out here, I know everybody says Joe knows this water like the back of his hand. So I threw a quarter out here. And Joe found it. Bass around here swim very awkwardly.
Not bad. Good. Yeah, I thought he was 5 or 6 the way he was fighting foul hook.
Somewhere. We're coming up to our last spot here. We gotta wrap it up. It's a short day here. I chucked this S wave. Just stuck a big old dog after going to the last spot and losing like a 7-pounder that grabbed onto the tail. And then I must have just hooked this up last big one on the face, loaded up, felt like a real heavy fish, didn't get to see it and pop loose. But yeah, that's the way it goes. We've had some good followers. Joe's getting busted out there on the spook, and you know, sometimes you get some giants, sometimes you don't, but we still saw a lot of fish today. Now the thing, when we're throwing out here, we're throwing the swim baits and you just slowly creep them in. You get to see bass, where they're coming from, where they're at. So not only are you out there trying to utilize a big bait to catch a big fish, but it tells you a lot of the time where the fish are at. If you're going to a new body of water, look for big points, look for sheer bluffs, submerged islands. Go throw swim baits around them. If you see the big bass come, they live there. Go back a couple hours later, work spooks, worms, grubs, jigs, whatever you need to do, junk fish it at that point, and at least you have the confidence there's big fish there, and confidence is the best tool you can have in your tackle box. Thanks for watching, guys.